discuss the Constitution's First Amendment. Why is the cousin announced to have confrontation between the Republicans and Democrats? What is the First Amendment all about? And should it be amended? Stick around until the end of the video as we answer these questions and more as we delve into the intricacies surrounding the First Amendment of the US Constitution. Welcome to the Naturalized Patriot Show. In this show you will hear the perspective of America through the eyes of a naturalized citizen. You will get to interact with us through a series of questions and give your opinion about these topics in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Also donate if you want to see more content like this video. Without further ado, let's begin. The Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution are without a doubt the most important documents in the history of the United States. However, as America progresses, the U.S. Constitution needed amendments to protect individual rights and liberties. Nowadays, Republicans and Democrats are in an endless battle over the Constitution, the existing amendments, any future amendments, and they spend taxpayer money ignoring the Constitution, trying to find ways to avoid it, and try to modify the Constitution to their own ideologies. Now, are Republicans and Democrats trying to change the rights-related amendments, or are they trying to change the structure of the government, or both? Why are they in a war all the time about the Constitution? First, let us discuss the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. It passed on December 15th of 1971. The First Amendment prohibits any law limiting freedom with respect to religion, expression, and peaceful assembly, or the rights of citizens to complain against the government and ask the government for assistance without fear of punishment. Every person in this country should be allowed to enforce this amendment, receive equal rights to hold one's belief in any field, particularly religion and politics. It is basically meant to protect the right of citizens to remain free and true to their own beliefs and to express them. However, there is not only one meaning to this statement. As you can imagine, it is an important aspect of our lives. Then again, an amendment of such importance is bound to result in conflict between political parties, which lately more and more they are of contrasting views. So, what is the conflict? Well, to better understand the contrasting views and the conflict between the two parties, first, you need to understand how the U.S. political system works. This system is one of the most important reasons for this conflict to even exist in the first place. Since the early days of the country, the electoral process in the United States has been largely determined by the competition between the two major political parties. Both have been known as the Democratic Party and the Republican Party since the 1850s. Since the last major realignment of political parties, the Democratic Party has been known as the party that represents the center-left and liberal ideology, while the Republican Party has been known as the party that represents the center-right and conservative ideology. However, since the 1990s, there has been an increase in political polarization in the United States. Because of this, tension and debate surrounding key political contentious laws, many of which result in political deadlocks, have become far more heated, and with the help of social media, these conflicts are reaching every corner of the US and the world. Now that we have discussed the political system, we have a firm grasp of the issues that may arise because of it. Speaking of the issues, let us know and let us discuss now and finally understand the war between the two parties over the First Amendment. One of the rights protected by the First Amendment is freedom of speech, which is, as you all know, crucial in a democracy. It allows us to talk freely without fear of prejudice or retribution about anything and against anyone. Now, this doesn't mean that there are no consequences from speaking one's beliefs, especially if the beliefs are completely against moral values, or they go against your employer's values or any private entity that you depend on, or threaten someone, or if you damage a person's image in life with libel or slander, which are both two forms of defamatory statements. Now, let's review each political party views. The Democratic Party is strongly in favor of talking freely without fear of prejudice or retribution. However, they are creating institutions to control disinformation that might have hints of totalitarian thought control, and are also banning disagreeing views of free speech on college campuses. Democrats led a charge in 2014 to repeal free speech protections by altering the First Amendment, where Congress could do the following. Congress could prohibit the National Rifle Association from distributing voter guides, letting citizens know politicians' records on the Second Amendment. Congress could prohibit the Sierra Club from running political ads criticizing politicians for their environmental policies. Congress could penalize pro-life or pro-choice groups for spending money to urge their views of abortion. Congress could prohibit labor unions from organizing workers and in-kind expenditure to go door to door urging voters to turn out. Congress could criminalize pastors making efforts to get their parishioners to vote. Congress could punish bloggers spending any resources to criticize the president. Congress could ban books, movies, and radio programs, anything not deemed the press that might influence upcoming elections. The amendment failed, but every single Democrat voted for it. I've been to Venezuela and Cuba before, and this is how it works there. I have friends from Russia, Venezuela, and Cuba that are extremely afraid to share anything over text, phone, social media, or even just normal conversations that remotely goes against the dictatorships. My girlfriend fled Saudi Arabia 7 years ago because she was threatened to death from the Saudi Arabian government because she was using social media to complain about the Saudi Arabian government and promoting civil rights for women. This is absolutely terrifying. Imagine a country where you cannot complain about the government or talk freely about changing something for good. Also, they're in cahoots with social media to cancel, ban, and control speech. Therefore, it only makes sense that they would lose their minds when Elon Musk started to be public about acquiring Twitter. This fear of losing Twitter, where they have shown clear characteristics of totalitarian thought control, is because if they don't control big social media platforms, they cannot put propaganda on their site and suppress, cancel, ban, and eliminate profiles they don't like. Now, on the other hand, the Republican Party claims that Democrats are the only ones banning social media accounts. However, there are multiple account bans in right-wing social media platforms like Parler. So, why the double standards? These double standards clearly are infuriating. Should social media platforms become publishers instead? It seems that they are already doing publishing by banning, canceling, and moderating what's being posted in their platforms. If they become publishers, how are they going to regulate, and are they going to be liable for their own regulations? This clearly goes against the original free-for-all mentality and the new free speech slogans in social media. In addition, Republicans are moving into classrooms and are trying to ban any type of speech that disagrees with traditional gender views. Republicans are starting to succeed in Florida, where they have banned any type of sexual orientation and gender identity. Republicans have clear reservations primarily over the concept of gender. You may have observed a rise in the portrayal of gender such as gender fluidity and transgenderism in recent years. For the more traditional Republican Party, they have a hard time tolerating and accepting that people not only have different sexual affinities, but also that these people express it. They cannot accept that rather than calling something an illness, people nowadays are calling it a gender decision, and these arguments in favor of gender fluidity and transgenderism are insufficient for them. They prefer to have the original binary genders. According to the rules of the Constitution and the First Amendment, both parties have the right to an opinion and to express it. However, there is a substantial distinction when it comes to peaceful protest, especially when both Democrats and Republicans take rioting quite seriously and in the wrong way. The Republican Party argues that the Democrats are too woke by indoctrinating these new values of gender education in schools. Republicans believe that it will be detrimental to future American generations. Whether or not this is taught hinges on comprehending equality. How far does freedom of expression under equality extend? For many, including Democrats, the answer is straightforward. Education is the key to comprehension. However, the Republican Party considers such schooling to be hazardous, frequently citing biblical and biological justifications. Republicans believe they are safeguarding American citizens by suppressing the new gender roles, and for many, this is a violation of liberty. In my opinion, Democrats and Republicans should not restrict free speech in any way. They should stay away from the classroom, let parents do all the parenting, and let schools teach without an agenda. Republicans and Democrats should refrain from telling people what to say and not to say. This is clearly an infringement on the Constitution by both parties. This collection of arguments makes it difficult for the average American to determine the boundaries of free expression, and that's a huge problem. Free speech, like other constitutional rights, only makes sense if one is free to use it unwisely, to risk being offensive, to risk being wrong, and to seek the truth. Free speech is the ability of someone to speak their consciousness and deepest thoughts, even when they are clearly against moral values. It doesn't matter. Otherwise, there is no freedom to speak. There's only a freedom to speak what some referee declares to be truth. So, that is all the time we have today. Will we be seeing soon an amendment to the First Amendment? Is there any type of speech that should be banned and cancelled? Should people be open to speak their minds, even if they are in the wrong, or being racists, or against moral and constitutional values? Republicans and Democrats claim that they're saving free speech, but are they really saving it? It seems like a tactic to increase government intrusion in people's lives and just, want to regulate it so that the government has rules over free speech, which would be a clear violation of democracy and an infringement on the Constitution. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and do hit the bell icon on your way out. See you all next time.